We think a lot about the food we eat and the water we drink, but what about the one thing we consume way more than anything else? Today, we're going to make the invisible visible and really dig into how the air we breathe affects our health in ways you probably don't even realize.
So, let me just start by asking you a question. If you weighed everything that goes into your body in a single day, all the food, all the water, and all the air, what do you think makes up the biggest chunk? I mean, your first thought is probably food, right? Or maybe water. But the reality, well, it's going to surprise you.
And here it is. Look at this. On a typical day, we eat about 0.75 kilograms of food, we drink around 1.5 kilograms of water, but then look at the air. It absolutely dwarfs everything else. It's not even close. We take in this staggering amount of air, and we barely ever give it a second thought. That's right, 15 kilograms. To put that in perspective, that's more than 10 times the amount of water we drink every single day. Your body is processing 15 kilograms of air. So, and this is the crucial part, the quality of that air, it matters a lot. Which, believe it or not, brings us to a pretty startling idea. For decades, tobacco was public health enemy number one. But now, experts are pointing to a new threat. One that's, well, it's literally all around us. And look, this isn't just some catchy phrase I came up with. Back in 2018, the Director General of the World Health Organization called air pollution a silent public health emergency. And then he said it. He called it the new tobacco. That is a heavy, heavy comparison, and for a very good reason. And it is not just a metaphor. The numbers back it up. We've had these huge, successful public health campaigns that have thankfully reduced the number of smokers worldwide. But as that's happened, air pollution has quietly stepped in to take its place. It's now responsible for more deaths every single year than tobacco. And the thing is, it's a threat you can't just choose to put down.
So what is actually going on inside our bodies when we breathe this stuff in? Well, the effects, they kind of come in two flavors. The immediate problems that we might actually notice, and then the much more serious damage that can build up quietly over a lifetime.
So first up, let's talk short-term effects. The best way to think about these is like your body's immediate alarm system. They're temporary reactions when you get a sudden hit of pollutants. The good news here is that they can often just go away once you get back into some cleaner air. So what do these alarm bells actually feel like? Well, we're talking about things you might just brush off as having a bad day, A sudden headache, your eyes feel scratchy, maybe you get a nagging little cough, or even some skin irritation. These are all little signs that the air you're breathing is having a direct, right now kind of impact.
But the real danger, the one we really need to worry about, is the long-term stuff. These aren't just temporary annoyances. No, this is where the damage really sets in. We're talking about serious, often irreversible health problems that develop slowly after years and years of your body fighting off a constant attack of pollutants.
And we are not talking about small stuff here. This is damage to the absolute core of your being. It can mess with your central nervous system, leading to things like anxiety. It hammers your cardiovascular system, increasing your risk for heart attacks and strokes. And of course, the most obvious target, your lungs. It directly leads to chronic respiratory diseases, everything from asthma to, yes, cancer. Now, while this invisible threat is out there for all of us, it doesn't hit everyone equally, not even close. Some of us are far, far more vulnerable to its damaging effects than others. So who's most at risk? Well, it's our children, whose bodies are still growing and developing. It's the elderly, whose defenses might be a bit lower. And it's anyone, absolutely anyone, already living with a heart or lung condition. For them, breathing in polluted air is like throwing fuel on a fire, making every single breath a challenge. So when we say air pollution, what are we actually talking about? It's kind of a vague term, right? Let's take a quick look at the usual suspects, the most common culprits making up this toxic soup in our air. All right, here's the rogues gallery. You've probably heard of some of these, like carbon monoxide from car exhaust, or ozone on those really hot, smoggy days. But one of the nastiest is particulate matter, or PM. These are tiny, microscopic particles that can get deep into our lungs and even slip right into our bloodstream. And it's a whole mix of other stuff too, from industrial pollutants to chemicals that are released right inside our own homes. Okay, so to really wrap our heads around the massive scale of this public health crisis, we need a way to see it all at once. And that's where this last idea comes in, the pyramid of impact. It's a really powerful way to see how all these different health effects are all connected. And here it is. This pyramid,
It's a perfect visual for understanding the full range of health problems caused by air pollution. You've got the really subtle, widespread issues down at the bottom, all the way up to the most severe, tragic outcomes at the very top.
The main idea here is actually pretty simple, but it's also profound. As you go up the pyramid and the health problems get more severe, the number of people affected gets smaller. But here's the key. The entire thing rests on that massive foundation at the bottom, which is just widespread exposure. So let's climb it together, really quick. The base, the biggest part, is basically the entire population that's exposed to pollution. From there, a smaller group starts to experience symptoms. A smaller group still has to go to the emergency room. An even smaller group gets admitted to the hospital. And then you reach the tragic peak, a small but significant number of deaths. See how every level is built directly on the one below it?
And that right there, that is the crucial takeaway. Those deaths at the very top of the pyramid, they're just the tip of the iceberg. They are the most visible, tragic outcome of a much, much broader problem that starts with millions of people just feeling a little bit sick. It is all one big interconnected crisis.
So, there you have it. The very air we depend on to live, those 15 kilograms we take in every single day, it's a genuine public health emergency. It's a silent threat that's now even bigger than tobacco. The pyramid makes the scale of it all impossible to ignore. So the final question really isn't just what's next, it's now that we know this, what are we all going to do about it?